Okay, welcome back everybody after the Philips commercial break. It is getting close to 12, midnight, and here we are, midnight on the Philips, former Philips high-tech campus. It's an ideal setting to talk about innovation and religion. When we talk about innovation in these days, we usually refer to economic success. I think Emil just mentioned it, that the invention of incandescent light was already, years ago, was already done. But the real success of incandescent light came when it became an economic success. And that is usually the reference that we use for innovation, for successful innovation. The bigger the economic result, the better the innovation. More is better. And it's no surprise that over the last decades, a lot of consultants have built models of how to better control the whole process of innovation. How can you control it? Because if you can control it, then you can guide it into a better and easier predictable economic return. So we have seen, and you have all seen it, we have seen models of innovation from tunnels to funnels to chasms. We have crossed chasms. We have seen dancing elephants, and it's loaded with models. I think there are just as many models as there are consultants, or maybe even more. And there is only one central theme that continuously plays a role in this thinking about innovation. And the theme is continuously the friction that you feel between change and structure. And that is, by itself, is absolutely not a new phenomenon. People have struggled with this phenomenon of how do you manage the interface of I want to do something, but the structure doesn't allow me to. How do you manage that? This is not something of the last 30 years or so. It's not something of the last 200 years. This goes way back. People have struggled with this all their lives. And people have built models on with symbols on how to depict reality in their time. So now it's an economic time frame, but in the old days there was nothing like a pure economic time, an economic reference. So they have built their own models, their own symbols, and they have made their own thinking of how this friction between structure and change, how that works. And what I would like to do is I would like to take you through two examples from religion that mean a lot to me. And I'd like to take you through the thinking that I've gone through over the last years doing some business inside Philips, outside Philips, and you learn a little bit about innovation and learn what it's all about. There are two examples that I would like to use from religion. And the first example is from the Hindu environment, and if there are Hindus in the audience anywhere, then stay at rest, because I will use a symbol from the Catholic Church as well. So you are at even. I will misuse all the religions just as I please. We go for the first symbol, and I've taken three characters with me. I stuck them on candles, and these three characters are the trinity of the Hindu tradition. And these three characters are three forces or three guys with the names Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. I have to recognize them from their dresses. Now these symbols, you could call them Jack, John, and Joe as well, but then the magic of the beautiful name is gone. So let's stick to Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. There's much more to the Hindu tradition, of course, than only these three characters. But if you bring it back to the essence of what they are doing, then it means a lot to what we are doing nowadays in innovation and thinking about these friction elements. If we take Brahma, where is he? Here. If we take Brahma, this is a force that stands for creativity, creation. But not creation in the sense of making something new in terms of matter or existence, but this is a force of creating a new perspective to what already exists. So what Brahma essentially does is he takes the existing, looks in a different way, adds a direction and a vision to it, and says, it could be over there. And that's the creation of it, that's the newness of it. Then he hands over to Vishnu, and Vishnu is the structurer. So Vishnu builds structures. Vishnu helps to get the direction and the movement of Brahma, to get it into place. And Vishnu builds a structure. And then the circus starts, because Vishnu makes processes, Vishnu makes hierarchies, Vishnu creates mass, Vishnu becomes big, and goes on, creating more of the same. That is what Vishnu is all about. We go to the third one, which is Shiva. And what Shiva does is, it's called the separator. The separator takes from Vishnu whatever makes sense and separates it from what doesn't make sense. And the funny part is that the stuff that doesn't make sense in the Hindu tradition is pretty much related to the structure itself. So you need a structure to get going, but you have to get rid of it if you want to make a separation between what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, because Shiva hands everything back to Brahma, and then a new cycle starts. Some very interesting elements come to mind here. First of all, the two, Brahma and Shiva, the ends of the spectrum, if you like, are non-rational. They are emotional. They are full of passion, both on the birth side and on the termination side. It is a very passionate movement on the beginning and on the end. They are connected in the sense of if you end something, then something starts. They are disconnected in the sense of a structure that is in between. And I think we all relate to that. We recognize that movement. The structure is something, or the cycle that they built with the three of them, is something that you have to live through continuously and gain experience of what this movement is all about. And if you talk about leadership in the modern days, then leadership in the Hindu terms is all about understanding how this mechanism works. Understanding of the mechanism means that you have a grip on the passion in the beginning, and you can give freedom to the passion in the beginning, and you have an understanding of what it means to end something. And you do that deliberately if you master the whole cycle. Some leaders in our world are absolutely clear to understand the beginning, the end, and the structuring part of it. It's obvious if I name guys like Steve Jobs. He knows the downside of Apple, the upside of Apple, and he knows how to structure it to get things running. But that's an easy one. The more difficult one is a guy like Moses. I'm not a very religious guy, but if you look at what happens there, coming out with Exodus out of Egypt, going through the desert, and he died just before they reached the Holy Land. He gave it to his successors to start a new cycle. That symbol, whether it's true or not, I don't care, but the symbol means a lot to the cycle of innovation. And there's a third leader that is very close to me, and that is, for me, is one of the leaders that is a big example to me, my dear wife. So you warned me already that Wendy would be looking. My wife has given birth to 4 kids. She manages the household, and she has taken care of her mom when her mom was passing away some 2 years ago of pancreas cancer. She stayed with her, she came back, and she started to work again on new stuff in the household. Now, if we talk about kids here, the interesting relationship is that if you talk about the rational thinking about getting kids, then there is no economic reasoning whatsoever or justification to get kids. Have you tried it? I've tried it 4 times, costs you an arm and a leg. It doesn't make any sense. But still we do. And why do we do it? If we try to rationalize it, if we try to rationalize the passion in the beginning and in the end, you kill the whole cycle and nothing happens anymore. And that is exactly what happens in the big economy that we have. We have blown it up so much, and we try to structure so much of what happens in the beginning and in the end, that Vishnu overtakes the essential elements of what things like innovation, entrepreneurship, basically are all about. They have nothing to do with the structure. You need the structure after the start. You need the structure before the end, and then the cycle starts again. The biggest leaders give a lot of freedom to creativity. They give a lot of independency to the people who want to start something new. And they even want to give stuff up that they have themselves. Giving up your structure is an essential element of starting something new. Let's switch to the second example, which is the Roman Catholic Church. There we go. put the candles away for just a minute. We travel to the year 2030, you and I, and here we stand on the St. Peter's Square. And we are there with a big audience, with CNN, and everybody is there, because we are going to witness something that has never been done before in history. The Pope has assembled 2 weeks ago. He has assembled all his bishops to solve one of the biggest problems of the Western world, which is the continuously going up of the average age. It seems that we're getting older and older and nothing happens anymore, so something needs to be done about it. And the Pope has decided to put up a conference with all his bishops to come to a solution. And after 2 weeks, everybody was waiting. All of a sudden, we see white smoke. It's really happening. The doors open up and the Pope appears and says, we have found a solution. A big cheer, everybody happy. CNN starts rolling. And the Pope says, we have discussed this for about 2 weeks, and we come with a solution that is a unanimous vote by all the bishops, except for one, but okay, we are with hundreds of us, so forget about the one. We have a unanimous vote, and what we have decided is we need in this world, we need more children. Big applause. And the way we are going to do it is we are going to set up 3 breeding centers all across the world. 1 breeding center in the Americas, 1 in Europe, and 1 in Asia. And we are going to do a big campaign to get young couples into the breeding center to get more kids. Big applause. This is the solution. Everybody goes home. 1 year later, the Pope sits again. And there he is, with all the bishops. And of course, nothing has happened during that year. They look at each other, and they don't know what went wrong. The American breeding center has turned into a bank. The European breeding center has turned into a museum, to be honest, into a hemp museum, because it was in Amsterdam, but anyway. And the Asian center has been turned into a factory. So what has gone wrong? Something has gone wrong, and they don't know. They sit there and are silent. And then this one bishop stands up and says, told you. And now everybody listens. And the Pope says, please step forward and explain to us what went wrong. The bishop steps forward into the middle of the circle, looks at everybody, and then pulls off a mask. And it turns out to be a woman. A beautiful, chocolate-skinned woman. Everybody is silent. And the woman moves forward to the Pope, picks 3 candles out of her robe, puts 1 candle, the Brahma candle, in one hand of the Pope, the Shiva candle into the other hand of the Pope, and she herself holds the Vishnu candle. She kisses the Pope on his head and says, hey, marry me. It's almost 12 o'clock. We are on the high-tech campus, an ideal setting to talk about religion and innovation. Thank you very much.